Hi there, and welcome to Facebook Live, the real life edition. Today's edition is kind of an interesting one. It was brought on by my week. We're going to talk a little bit about resiliency and how to bounce back. I think we've all been in a position in our lives where we've struggled a little bit, whether it's because of things happening in our life or maybe choices that we've made. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I choose sometimes these topics because normally, it might very well be something that I'm going through, such as this week. I'm not going to lie, it's been a really rough week. It's so funny because not very long ago, I was thinking, gosh, 2017 has been such a great year. And all these people are kind of talking about how they can't wait for it to be over because it's been such a rough year. And I just was not thinking in that direction. I was really pretty happy with the way things have gone this year. And then I don't know, it just feels like a snowball of things have happened this week. So we're going to talk about how to bounce back. Fortunately, it's something that I've been pretty good at over the years. Although I'm going to admit, sometimes it's a lot easier than other times to bounce back. But if you've ever felt like you've fallen down or really been put in a position where you're struggling to get out of maybe even a depression or just a situation or to deal with some life circumstances, it happens to all of us, then this topic's for you. So some of the answers that I give you today or some of the tips that I give you are going to be things that have worked for me. Some of them are some that I have looked for and had to find. But first we're going to start a little bit with my confessions for the week, because as I said when I first jumped on, it has been one hell of a week. It just started with some things on Monday, and see, Raphael says, thank you for your videos. You are welcome. And hey, Mo, it's been a while, girl. Hope things are going good over on that half of the country. So, it just started with a couple of things happening where, some misunderstandings have occurred, and just multiple things. Sometimes I get in a position where it's a struggle to understand what people's meanings are from conversations that we have, and people's feelings can get hurt. Definitely, I'm not perfect. I already know that I make mistakes all the time, but things just kind of snowballed, and then today was just kind of the epitome of a cluster. Just some things that I had planned are just falling through. And honestly, I had to take a step back and think, okay, well, in the scheme of things, they're not that big of a deal. But it's just, they all kind of happen at once. And so I am struggling a little bit today to pull myself out of the issues that I'm having. I kind of would rather crawl into bed at this point tonight, but I'm going to be here talking about bouncing back to you. So, and Mo is telling me that she's reaching a goal. I don't know if I want to tell you what that is. You can read below, but that's awesome, girl. Again, here's my confessions. You guys, I fall down all the time. Sometimes I had one of my girlfriends tell me, you look like you've got it all together. We kind of look at you and think that, you've reached the top, and that is just not how it goes on. I might not display all my issues on social media because really a lot of times that's nobody's business. But because I want you to know that I'm real and I have the same issues that everybody else does, I'm choosing to talk a little bit about it tonight. So I fall down a lot. I get frustrated. I think one of my biggest issues, especially in the last few years, has just been, I feel like there's a lack of respect when I'm working with people, especially professionally. And there's been some instances where I've been really, really let down. And so again, we all have our own demons. We all have our own issues. We all have our own experiences. And those do play a role because we see things differently from each other. I really do try to put myself in other people's positions, especially when there's a disagreement, because it's never my goal to hurt people's feelings on purpose or to cause drama or grief. That's just not who I am. Now, I know people who do like those kind of things and who like to stir up trouble. And those tend to not be my friends because I just don't have time and energy for that. And to be honest, I'm too old for drama. We should have left that garbage in high school a long time ago. But I do fall down a lot. And when I do, because I'm a perfectionist and I already know this about myself, sometimes I really take it hard. I've talked before on our real life edition about, being a perfectionist and that sometimes I really set my sights too high. I expect more out of myself than I would expect from others. And sometimes I don't talk to myself very well. It is important to love ourselves, and when we choose to talk to ourselves in a really negative manner, it can be a little bit of an issue. So I'm working on that. Again, I'm not perfect. It's something that I have to work with every day, and I do use positive affirmations and those kind of things to work through it. But yeah, it's been a rough week, and I'm not going to lie. I don't like emotion, but I have spent some time with tears running down my face. for multiple options. But the one thing I have done over the last few years that has been more of a healthy change is that I used to eat my feelings. Mo, I totally got that. Like, do you want me to talk about that on here? Because I'm super excited for you. I just don't know if you want me to talk about the fact that you just had surgery, honey. But I am super stoked for you. So I used to really eat my feelings. That's how I learned. I used to eat when I get stressed, and I would eat because I was bored. And a big one, I still, even though I don't really physically crave, goodies and sugar and stuff anymore, I do mentally crave that sometimes. To me, that's something I've done for several decades, that it's kind of my body's response to that. So most is I have complete permission to tell everybody that she got breast reduction surgery, and girl, I am for you because I've been there. That is so awesome. I'm hoping your insurance paid for it because mine didn't. So super excited for you, girl. That's awesome. Anything that can get you where you want to go and helps you become a better person and be happy, that's an option. So an awesome option. I know I keep getting off task here a little bit, but I used to really eat my feelings, and I in general I no longer do that. I tend to be more about going to the gym and throwing some weights around and making some healthier choices. Though there are still times when I eat my feelings. But I'm really working. My goals tend to be bigger than my obstacles, and so that isn't quite the same issue that I used to have back when I was a bigger woman. So let's talk a little bit about being resilient. It's one of those things. It is the bounce back ability. It is your ability that when you fall down, because we're all going to fall down. It's for some of us for just different reasons. Some of it's going to be things that you have no control over, and some of it's because of choices that we've made. And so, of course, hopefully we learn from those things. But part of it is, again, learning to get back up. Food addiction. That would be a good one, Mo. It's about your ability to bounce when you are down, because it's going to happen. And it can be anything. It can be about finances. It can be about a job, your relationships. There's a lot of things that happen in life. And really quick on that note, I just want to say really quick that, to put things into perspective, it's been quite an incredible week. I have some really incredible people in our community that have lost significant loved ones, and I want them to know that we're thinking about them. It's this really a rough time of year for a lot of people, and so there's some pretty strong emotions going on right now in the community that we live in, and I'm thinking of them, and my prayers are with you. So anyhow, being resilient, your ability to bounce back when things go wrong, right? And it's also our ability to cope with change, because as humans we don't really like change. We tend to like a schedule. We tend to like habits. The whole old habits die hard. The problem is that sometimes when those habits are so ineffective or unhealthy for us, it's hard to change, but it's necessary. And that comes down to one of my favorite quotes of all time, that you will remain the same until the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of change. So that alone can kind of take us the direction that we need to go. But again, part of it is when you're resilient, it helps you live a life that's based more on choice rather than, just dealing with the habits or the issues that you have. So I think the first thing we have to come down to is when we have some difficulties in our lives, we have to really think about what we kind of have to redefine failure. Whether that's in the situation that we are, like that's being thrust upon us, or whether that's some choices that we've made have put us in a position, we have to redefine that. I think sometimes because we're so hard on ourselves, that idea of failure is much more intense in our heads than it really truly is. So some of the tips will be based on that. I think one of the things that when we are disappointed and we do fail at something or do have that situation, it is okay to be disappointed. I think sometimes we need to embrace that disappointment so that we know you kind of have to know the dark in order to know the light. You have to know the good to the bad to know the good. We have to have something to compare it to. But you can't wallow in it. I think that's the hardest part. There have been times in my life where it's taken me weeks and even months to get through a situation or a feeling that I've had, that depression and the ability to try and break out of that. Fortunately for me, I've really learned how to get back through, how to get up when I fall, and how to bounce back, right? So part of it, especially with my issues that I was dealing with today, was that I really had to sit down and kind of pay attention to what's really important, knowing some of the difficulties, like I said, that people are having in the community right now, and even around our country and even in the world. It makes your difficulties and your problems seem so small. And that's the first step, is being able to kind of put things into perspective and know, wow, I have these problems, but look, I have a family, they're near me, my kids are doing well. All those things are such a huge benefit and a blessing, that, man, it makes some of my problems seem so insignificant. And, life does happen. Obstacles happen. We just have to learn to get through those. So there's some really great tips I found today on lifehack.org. Some of them might apply to you. Some of them may not. But I think they're all helpful. These were tips from highly resilient people, things that they do in order to either learn to bounce back quicker, and honestly, some of it is just putting things in place for yourself. Positivity is an attitude. You can have two people with the exact same thing happen to them, and one person can be so optimistic and okay with it and dealing with it and seem strong, and the other person may want to crawl up in the fetal position and cry. Again, part of it is a choice in how we learn to approach the problems that we have. So here's the tips that I came up with today. And like I said, not gonna lie, still dealing with that today. I have my moments of doing okay, and then I have my moments where I didn't want to get on here today, but I'm gonna anyway because I said I would. Hence the reason I actually chose this topic. And Amanda is saying, like, having a baby at age 42. Yeah, girl, you got some balls there, because I'm 42 and I am done. I'm waiting for grandbabies at this point. So here's the tips that I got today. So part of it, again, is how you choose to respond. I think that in general, if we tend to look at life as and looking for the laughter, the love, we have to want to have hope. Despair is not a fun place to be. But when you tend to really choose positivity in your life and surround yourself with people with like minds, it makes it a whole lot easier to become an optimist overall. Number two, you have to accept and anticipate change and anticipate that it's going to happen daily. Humans don't like change. Our bodies like a schedule. Our subconscious likes a schedule. That's why sometimes some of those unhealthy habits tend to be so difficult to break, because even though it would be better for us, it's so much more comfortable to stay within those habits. So even though we are creatures of habit, we have to know that life is unpredictable, and we have to be ready for that change. And for some people, they're so good at not only anticipating it, but embracing it, and being able to really see life as an adventure. Like I said, I know that's not an easy one, but it can be. Life is supposed to be an adventure. Number three, you have to embrace the power of choice. Life really is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you choose to respond to it. So if you really work on having a positive spin on it, because you can't control some of those events, but you can control how you choose to respond to it, and it is difficult. I found for a lot of years of my life that my response was really quickly anger and negativity, and so that's something that I've worked on in my 42 years of life, of being a little bit better about taking a step back, thinking about it, not responding so quickly, being able to calm down in a situation and then have a better response, and have it a well thought through response versus flying off the handle so easily. Number four, it is okay to ask for help. It might be advice. You might need to ask for encouragement, support. I think sometimes, especially, I know I'm a control freak. I'm absolutely aware of this. And so it's really difficult for me to sometimes ask for help, but it's not a sign of weakness. It actually can not only make us a better person, but it can give someone else the blessings of helping us there. Number five, and this is a good one, become self-aware and connected with those around you. If you already know what your values are and your purposes and your focus is, it makes it a lot easier to fix the things about yourself that aren't quite working the way that we'd like them to. Again, I know I'm a perfectionist, and there are times where I have to step back and say, perfection is not what I'm looking for. Good enough is. I just need it to work, and not wait until it's perfect. There's a lot of instances in the last couple of years where had I waited till it was perfect, there would be certain things that wouldn't happen. Say Facebook Live. Notice I'm still doing this on my phone. I don't have my own camera. I do have my own set because I built it. That's my Christmas tree. But had I waited until I had all those things that I really thought I wanted, I wouldn't be on here. And of course, we're still going strong several months in. So I am very aware of my weaknesses. I'm very aware of my strengths, and I really try to play on my strengths. And if a weakness is something that needs to be fixed, I do focus on finding ways to do that. Live to learn. Number 6, live to learn. Yeah, wisdom comes from different things. Some of it comes from reflection. Some of it comes from imitation, right? Maybe seeing how other people have dealt with it and being able to imitate that. And some of it just definitely comes from experience. And of course, that's the hardest one. But it happens. Hopefully when we have obstacles, we do learn from not only the obstacle itself, but from our reaction to it and how maybe to respond to that a little bit better the next time. Number 7, we do need to value health, and not just physical health, although that is extremely important. And when your physical health is on target, it does help that your mental, emotional health can get there as well. Though they go so closely together. You can't really have one without the other and be truly a whole person. So you do what healthy people do, whether that's meditation to get your head straight, whether that's exercise because it makes you feel better and it does help with everything else, whether it's to clean up your diet because maybe you're eating some things that really, I really fully believe that there is a link between depression and nutrition, that there is something missing within people's bodies that don't allow them to respond similarly to things, that positive people do. Just a thought. We could go more into that in depth later, but I really think that a lot of things that happen in our lives, and when it comes especially to health and illness and disease, that it actually starts within our bodies and starts within our gut health. Number 8, practice appreciation. This one is so important. The more that you can count your blessings and think about what you do have versus what you don't have, the more likely you are to be able to deal with the situations that come up. I am a full believer that everything in my life happens for a reason. And of course, it's frustrating when I don't always know what those things are, especially when I'm in the midst of the situation. But I can always look back later on and think, wow, I learned a huge lesson in that situation because this is what I learned. And now this thing would never have happened, which is an incredible blessing, had this craziness and this derogatory thing not happened. So not only that, but it gives you a reason to help others, because that alone makes you appreciate what you do have. Hearing other people's obstacles and issues makes me so happy and feel so blessed in what I already have, partially because I know how to deal with it at this point. Number 9, embrace failure and disappointment. Don't stuff those feelings in. It's not healthy. At some point you're going to have to approach those in order to be mentally healthy, whether that requires some extra professional help, whether you can get through it by prayer, by meditation, by journaling, whatever works best for you. But I think that it's not okay to not deal with it. Think of yourself as a survivor, not the victim. That's an important part of it. And because you can define your own success, you get to choose what that success is and whether you've made it there or not. And then 10, of course, this one is the hardest one for me. The control freak screams every time I talk about being adaptable and flexible, but that is necessary because with change comes the necessity to be able to change our lives in order to adjust to that. So I think the challenges, though it's difficult to imagine and think about that at the time, they do make us stronger. The most incredible people that I know have gone through extreme obstacles in their life, and they've become such an incredible problem solver, an incredible inspiration because they've dealt with those situations. But because it makes them relatable, we understand that they've been through similar issues, that we all have issues. So that helps us. And don't forget that diamonds are made under pressure. That pressure makes you a better person and a more beautiful person overall. I think that the hardest thing to remember is that all challenges are temporary. We will make it through. It just comes down to our choice. How long do we want to stay down? How quickly can we get back up? We all know the people at the top that are successful are not there because they never had challenges, but because they did it in spite of the challenges. So that is my real life edition for tonight. I really do appreciate all of you that hopped on tonight. I know I was supposed to have a guest. She will be with me next week. She had the flu. That was her challenge for the day, as her family has the flu this week. So I do appreciate all of you for jumping on here. If you do have questions or topics, again, I'm not an expert in everything, but I do like researching, and I do like approaching some topics that I don't always know a lot about, because that helps me to understand other people better, and maybe I learn a little bit more about myself, such as today's topic. So I'm going to go deal with my issues from today and go work out, because that's the best way I know how to deal with stress. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you for being here. And you guys, if I don't get to talk to you before then, Merry Christmas. Have a good one.